We want to begin every session of high growth parenting with a reminder that we're mixing together the work of a few different experts on parenting that have a lot of experience in this field. The conclusions they've come to is that connection and success together equals growth. Connection, as in, I'm sensitive, I'm attuned, I meet the needs of my kid. Success, I'm consistently watching their success, highlighting it, and valuing where that success comes from. Those two things combined are very powerful and create an environment where children become resilient, communicate, flexible, hopeful, self-aware, gain control, caring, all those wonderful things. And where we minimize the results of disconnection and repeated experiences of failure, which tend to produce all the things we struggle with. The goal is transformation. We're building inner wealth in the child. We're cultivating a healthy emotional landscape. The point is, let them be their best selves. Let them grow into that. Today, we're digging into not getting hijacked, being able to stay the person who's driving my ship and make sure that I'm showing up the way I want to show up as a parent and not allowing other people to control me. All of us have this problem. I use the word hijack very specifically because that's exactly what it feels like. It feels like I was on my trip somewhere doing my thing, trying to go where I want to go, and somebody else came in and took over, took control. And one of the most important things that we can do as the adults in the room is to not allow somebody else's negativity to change the direction I'm going, but even more importantly, who I am in this moment. I think a lot of us think of ourselves as a identity that doesn't change, and that's some part of that's true. But a lot of times the question isn't who am I all the time. It's really who am I going to be right now in this moment. And if I'm trying to be a specific version of myself, I'm trying to be a particular kind of parent or a particular kind of person in this moment, to have somebody else come in and really push me off balance and have me stumble into something else is overwhelming, frustrating, and frankly disappointing. And so I'm going to need to split this up into two videos actually. So we'll have one that's focused on establishing that idea of who do I want to be? What's healthy and good for me? And then how do I reset back to that when I'm in a particular situation that's difficult? But then also the second video is going to dig a little deeper and help me see what are my relationship habits that are causing me to struggle and that are getting me off kilter pretty consistently. How do I identify that? And then what do I do about it? Children impact us. Just when we signed up to be parents, it didn't make us any less human. And humans are impacted by the people and things around them. So congratulations. You will probably get hijacked very often as a parent. And having somebody in dysregulation, somebody who's a little chaotic, somebody who's struggling in a particular way, or even just somebody who isn't you, you're not in their brain and you're trying to help them and you don't understand what to do, that's overwhelming and frustrating sometimes. And it's okay. And that sometimes changes, it pushes us off course. And that's okay too. The whole point of a reset is to recognize that you're a little off course or a lot off course and to pull it back and get back on the course you want to be. I like to think of resets using a couple of analogies. One is sports. So I'm not sure what sport you're into, but a lot of times if somebody steps out of bounds or a ball goes out of bounds, if you watch what happens, they just handle it really quickly. Somebody goes and gets the ball, or you step back in bounds, whatever the penalty is happens. But there's not a lot of brouhaha. Sometimes someone blows a whistle, but a lot of times there isn't a long, drawn out, like nobody sits the person who broke the rule or was out of bounds down and gives them a shaming talking to and has them stand up and apologize to everybody, and like there just isn't a lot of rigmarole. What happens in sports is that we're all trying to play this game, and if a rule is broken, it's acknowledged, it's taken care of, and we get right back to playing the game as quickly as possible. The same thing actually happens in music. If you've ever seen a symphony playing, if one person recognizes that their instrument is out of tune, you just watch them, they just stop, tune their instrument really quick, and then get back to playing. And they didn't even stop the music most of the time. It's just you fix it and you go right back to what you were doing. And that mindset of we're doing something really important here, we're doing what we want to do, and so when something gets in the way of that, or if a rule is broken or there's a problem, that's all right. We're just going to handle it really fast, get back into alignment and inside the bounds or in tune or whatever it needs to be so that we can keep going as quickly as possible. If I make a mistake, I'm taught to focus on that mistake and really figure out what went wrong, or a lot of us chastise ourselves and we have this, not literal voices in our heads, but we have these ideas and these things that keep coming back saying, "Oh, that was a bad thing," and we beat ourselves up for it. And there's really not a good reason to do that. In fact, there's plenty of good reasons not to. And we think maybe that if we do a lot of that, then we'll lessen the likelihood of us making that mistake again. And the truth is actually the science says the opposite. The more that we can focus on doing it right instead of focusing on what we did wrong, focusing on doing it right and just trying again and doing better, that is the powerful thing that's going to help us to recover more quickly and to get back in step and move forward and be more successful more often. Another way to think about this, and that is helpful for me, and we might use this analogy a few times here, is from Martha Beck. She talks about us being a little bit like an airplane. And if I'm an airplane and I'm flying along and something pushes me off course, say there's a storm or something and I get pushed off course, I just want to be aware of that and get back on course as quickly as possible. Otherwise, I waste a lot of fuel and I might get lost, and things like that can happen. If I recognize quickly, oh, I'm off course, and just adjust course back to go where I'm going, then as an airplane, that's the best thing to do and the most helpful thing to do. Also, if you want to take the analogy a little farther, as an airplane, all of the parts and pieces of the airplane need to be in good working order and need to work well together. That's healthy, right? When we're being healthy, then all the parts of us are in good working order and hopefully working well together. Our brains are a lot like that too. We do the best job of interacting with other people, of being ready to grow, of being ready to learn, of being able to bounce back when things go wrong, when all the parts of our brains are working together in harmony, and when all the parts of our brains are healthy. And that's actually what happens when we're doing a lot of the things that we're going to be talking about today. Staying in the moment is one of the most important ways we can do this well. And by that, I mean, if we worry about the past, so something happened in the past and it's really difficult to let go of. So, say my child hits me and I'm a human, so that sets off some of the things in my limbic system, and I get really frustrated. And then my child stops hitting me and maybe even apologizes, but I'm still mad. That makes me a really normal human. But the longer I'm holding on to this, so the longer I'm holding on to what happened in the past, the harder it is for me to reset and the harder it is for the relationship to get back to where it needs to be. If I can stay in the moment, which this takes work and practice, but if I can stay in the moment and I can leave the past behind me. So even if 2 seconds ago my child was yelling and hitting me, when they stop, if I can reset then and bring myself back out of that, then I'm ready for what's healthy and helpful. And that's what I think of as what I want to reset to, just for me, healthy and helpful. So you decide what yours are, but for me, I'm going to stick with those for now. Um, it's hard to be healthy and helpful. It's hard to be the kind of person I want to be when I'm completely angry because I just got hit. It's okay to be angry, but the reset is an opportunity. It's a pause. And in that pause, I take the opportunity to feel as mad as I am, feel maybe as hurt as I am. Nobody likes to be hit. That's okay to feel angry and hurt. But if I can be with those feelings and feel them fully, but then also have some compassion for myself in that moment and say, this is part of being human. Like, maybe take a deep breath, do whatever I need to do. The people in Nurtured Heart call it a radical self-care moment. And that's all it is this just minute to myself to be able to take care of whatever I need to take care of in the best way. It's not pushing those feelings aside. It's not pretending I never had them. I get to be human, and my children seeing me be human is just fine. But giving myself that moment to say, hey, I need a reset. I'm going to be resetting gives me an opportunity to kind of love myself, be aware of what's going on for me, and give myself a little bit of space for that to go on, whatever it is. And hopefully, whatever time I'm taking is enough for me to move myself through what needs to be happening. That's what the resetting is, right? And so maybe I do something physically to help calm my body down, or maybe I'm mentally and emotionally taking care of myself, saying it's okay to be mad. Mad is what you do in situations where somebody's hurting you. That's okay. And I remind myself of that and I work through whatever it is. And then as I've finished resetting, I can return back to what we were doing because assume whatever part of living my life I was doing was important. And I can say, okay, I'm back. Let's keep playing the game, or let's keep playing the song, or let's move forward, fly. Like, let's keep flying to our destination. And I can do that now because I gave myself that moment of radical self care that allowed me to get back in the game at an optimal level and to be able to really play, as opposed to saying I'm back in the game. I'm guilty here. Saying I'm back in the game, or pretending to play my instrument or whatever, but something's still out of tune, or I haven't been able to move on from that moment that happened a few minutes ago or a few seconds ago. And that means that I'm going to struggle to actually play the game well, or to actually play the song in tune, or to be able to move my life forward. However, whatever I was doing that was important. So one of the great things about Nurtured Heart is that emphasis on, if I can be in this moment, then I can leave what happened before, even if it was just a minute ago, behind me, and let it be like, well, that was just a minute ago. But I can also not worry too much about the future. Resetting is not getting ready to do something in particular. Resetting is simply about, I need to get my body, my mind, my emotions, all the parts of myself back into healthy, back into helpful, and be okay again so that I can play again. The more often, the more thoroughly we reset, come back into alignment with what we want to be doing or who we want to be, the easier it's going to be to stay there, even though the storms are happening or even though the chaos is coming. It's going to be easier to stay there and easier to get back and realize, oh, I'm out of alignment, and come right back. So we just covered what is a reset, how to do it, and that's really great. That's a really important foundational part of any parenting thing we're going to do in the future. The next thing we're going to talk about in the next video is attachment and how that relates to resetting habits. And we have some very, very good information from our neuroscientist friends about what happens with those habits, what they look like, and how we can shift them. I'm also excited to share a bonus lesson this week, which summarizes some of the best research about what parents can model for their kids to be able to build that emotional and social intelligence, build that resilience, build, all of those things. We kind of have to do it first, and we need to do it in a way that shows them what to do. And this will just be going through a list of things like that fall into the healthy and helpful categories, but are much more specific. And hopefully that'll give us a great start in thinking deeply about, what am I resetting back to, which is a fundamentally important question.